Showtime! The Capital G show starts right now.
What's up YouTube? Capital G here. Alright, so guys, I'm going to try out a new segment on my channel. And basically in this series, I'm going to pick a deck that most people wouldn't consider competitive. You know, like a casual deck or a fun deck. And we're going to try and make a good competitive build of the deck. And this is going to be based on the knowledge and ideas that you and I both have for the deck. You know, and what's cool about this is, because I'm obviously not an expert on all these decks, you guys basically bring more to the table than I do, because some of you have probably tested these decks and archetypes thoroughly. So we're going to start with one of my favorite casual decks of all time, Crystal Beast. And I guess we should start with what I know that Crystal Beasts do well. Well, Crystal Abundance is still, in my opinion, really fucking good. I just think Abundance is one of those cards that's just going to be good until like the end of time. I mean, yeah, it does take some setup, but I mean, you get to wipe the board, you get 4 Crystal Beasts. Usually it's an OTK, especially with Cowboy being introduced into the game, and it's really good. I mean, especially considering that there's very little counters. You have like Solemn Warning, and that's pretty much it. I mean, Evac and Bottomless and Book of Moon, none of those cards do anything. And since it specifically says sends, that means that it also shits on cards like Stardust Dragon and Draco Sack. I mean, basically everything. Like, that was my biggest concern, was like, how can we get rid of a field of dragons? And it's like, oh yeah, it sends, so none of your dragons are protected. I know that Rainbow Ruins is still one of the best field spells in the game. I mean, it's resistant to destruction. And once you get 3 cards in your back row, I mean, shit gets real. You can start, you know, negating spells and traps. The battle damage gets cut in half. You go even higher and you can start drawing cards. I mean, Rainbow Ruins seems to be one of the biggest reasons to run this deck. I know that Pegasus and Carbuncle are basically like the power monsters. Obviously, Pegasus is like your go-to turn 1 summon. I mean, it's basically the solid opening play of the deck. It has pretty good stats. It loads you up quick. And Carbuncle, I mean, he's basically what busts the floodgates open. Like, this is the guy that basically facilitates your OTKs when you don't have, like, you know, Crystal Abundance or something like that. If you could special summon Carbuncle, then basically you just, you know, flood the field with a whole bunch of little beaters. Unfortunately, just like every deck in Yu-Gi-Oh!, Crystal Beasts do suffer some serious flaws. I know that pretty much with the exception of everything except Crystal Beast, Sapphire Pegasus, the stats of these guys aren't very impressive. I know that the deck's mechanic also locks out back row, so you can't really efficiently run more than a few viable traps in this deck, which means that you're probably going to need to run hand traps as a mean of protection in most cases. I know that the deck's boss monster, well, both of them, I guess, if you want to count Crystal, Dark, Rainbow, Dragon, whatever the hell that thing is called, they were both utter failures. I mean, neither one of the cards really helped the deck. They're not really what I would consider consistent on any level. I really don't understand why they were even made, to be completely honest. Okay, so now that we've got the good and bad out of the way, I guess we can focus on ways to improve the Crystal Beast deck. Obviously, the deck works best when you hit Abundance early. You know, it is basically like your win condition. I really feel like since that card is really hard to stop, it should be kind of like the knockout punch that you're going for. I know the deck works best when you hit Rainbow Ruins early, and that card is definitely rolling because it's like draw power and protection and negation all kind of rolled up into one. Now, Crystal Beast does obviously need a little bit of setup time because, you know, cards like Abundance take 4 Crystal Beasts, and then Rainbow Ruins doesn't really get rolling until you have 3 cards in the back row. But I feel like this deck is just kind of begging for Reckless and Upstart so that we can reduce that setup time. You know, when you combine that with cards like Rare Value, then I feel like you can actually give the deck consistent speed. The one question I do have about Upstart is I'm not sure how much it would clash with Crystal Abundance, because I'm kind of looking for that card to be an OTK card, especially with, again, Cowboy, and I don't know if that 1000 would conflict with that. As far as defense goes, I know it's always kind of been an issue with Crystal Beast. I feel like Swift Scarecrow should probably be the main defense. You know, you don't really need to invest cards to play defense on the field because Abundance is going to wipe the board clean anyway. And since Rainbow Ruins already cut battle damage in half, I'm not really too concerned about getting OTK or whatever. I mean, your opponent can put as much as they want on the board, Draco Sacks and Stardust and all that stuff. Once you hit Abundance, I mean, they're really not going to have anything that they can do about it. I feel like Max C should definitely be played at 3 because, you know, the deck obviously can't run conventional traps. So, you know, when you combine Max C, the draw power, with a card like Reckless Greed, you give yourself a much better chance of drawing cards like Swift Scarecrow, you know, a la your defense cards, in case your opponent is trying to go for game. And then, who knows, you draw into like your Crystal Abundance at the same time, and then you could probably just turn around and game them. So I just kind of wanted to start a discussion, see what you guys' input is, and then maybe I'll take all that information. I'll try and build the most competitive version of like a core Crystal Beast deck that I can, and then I'll test it a bit. Also, I also felt like it's worth noting that I do know of the Ninja Crystal Beast version. It's kind of like Chaos Ninja Crystal Beast with like Dark Samorg and stuff like that. I'm not sure how much better or worse it is than the conventional version. Maybe you guys can tell me about that too. So thank you guys for watching as always, and hopefully we'll be able to build a pretty decent version of this. Thanks for watching. Subscribing makes life happy.